Let's take a look at the answers to quiz 2X. So we have the price demand function for selling toasters is given by X is equal to 1,000 minus 10p, where p is the price and X is the demand. The cost function in dollars for producing X toasters is C of X is equal to 3,500 plus 25X. Question 1. Solve the price demand function for p, and then find the domain. So let's take the price demand function. And we're going to solve for p. So I'm going to move the 10p to the left. Move the x to the right. And then divide everything by 10. It'll be 100 minus 0.1x. Next, we want to find the domain. So we know that x has to be greater than or equal to 1. And we know that 0 rather. And then we know that p has to be greater than or equal to 0. So a couple of things here. We can use this last one if we want. And let me just do it this way here. And just say that 100 minus 0.1x is greater than or equal to 0. So negative 0.1x is greater than or equal to negative 100. Then divide both sides by negative 0.1. That gives me x is less than or equal to 1,000. Don't forget to flip the inequality sign around because you're dividing by a negative. And if we write this as an interval, we're going to have 0 up to 1,000. All right, question 2. What is the price per toaster when selling 200 toasters? So that would be p of 200 when p is a function of x. We use the price demand function. So we get 100 minus 0.1 times 200, and that is $80. Question 3. Find the revenue function, and what is the domain of the revenue function? So recall that the revenue function is x times p of x. That's the number of items you're buying times the price per item. So this is x times 100 minus 0.1x, which is 100x minus 0.1x squared. We had some students try this following solution. If you have the profit function p of x, you know that that's equal to revenue minus cost. So the revenue function must be equal to the profit function added to the cost function. And yeah, that's true, except up to this point in the problem, you don't have the profit function. So you can't use this formula for revenue. So just go back and stick with this basic scenario. The revenue is the number of items times the price. The domain of the revenue function is inherited from the price demand function, so it's 0 to 1,000. Find the marginal revenue function and the marginal revenue at a production level of 200 toasters. So marginal revenue is the derivative. So that would be 100 minus 0.2x. The marginal revenue at a production level of 200 toasters would be 100 minus 0.2 times 200. And that would be $60 per toaster. So what does this mean? At a production level of 200 toasters, revenue is increasing at a rate of $60 per toaster. At a rate of $60 per toaster. Notice a couple of things about this. In order to interpret the results, you must clearly state what the production level is. And then secondly, its revenue is increasing. It is not marginal revenue is increasing. Marginal revenue is the derivative. The derivative tells us how the original function is increasing or decreasing. And that original function is revenue itself. Let's look at question 5. Use algebra to find the break-even points. So the break-even points happen when revenue is equal to cost. So that would be 100x minus 0.1x squared is equal to the cost function from the other page, 3,500 plus 25x. Let's move everything to the left. So that would be negative 0.1x squared plus 75x minus 3,500 equals 0. I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 10. And that's going to get rid of the leading coefficient decimal. So this is going to be x squared minus 750x plus 35,000 is equal to 0. And then from that I can factor. What two numbers multiply to give me 35,000 and add to give me 750? They are 50 and 700. So x is equal to 50 and 700. So that's where the break-even points occur. Question 6, find the profit function. So p of x is equal to r of x minus c of x. So that would be 100x minus 0.1x squared, that's the revenue, minus the cost function, 3,500 plus 25x. Distribute the negative. And then simplify by the exponent powers. So it's negative 0.1 x squared plus 75x minus 3,500. Seven, find the marginal profit function and the marginal profit at a production level of 200 toasters. So marginal profit function is p prime of x. That would be negative 0.2x plus 75. P prime of 200 would be negative 0.2 times 200 plus 75. That would be $35 per toaster. And the interpretation. At a production level of 200 toasters, profit is increasing by $35. Well, let's say this. Is increasing at a rate of $35 per toaster. Let's take a look at the answers for quiz 2y. In this problem, the price demand function for selling toasters is x is equal to 240 minus 2p. where P is the price and X is the demand. The cost C function for producing X toasters is C of X is equal to 6,000 plus 5X. Question 1. Solve the price demand function for P and find the domain of P. So let's start with the price demand function. And let's solve this for P. So we're going to move the 2P to the left and move the X to the right. Then divide both sides by 2. And we get 120 minus 0.5X. Next, let's find the domain. So we know that X has to be greater than or equal to 0. And we know that P has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to take 120 minus 0.5x, that's our price demand, with P equal to that. Set that greater than or equal to 0, and solve for x. So first I move the 120 to the right side. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 0.5. So we're going to get x is less than or equal to 240. So the domain is 0 to 240. Question 2. What is the price per toaster when selling 110 toasters? So this is little p of 110 is equal to 120 minus 0.5 times 110. If you work that out, you get $65. So the cost of a toaster per toaster, each toaster, when you sell 110 toasters to a company is $65. Question 3. Find the revenue function and the domain of the revenue function. So recall that the revenue function is x times the price function. So this would be x times 120 minus 0.5x, which is 120x minus 0.5x squared. The revenue function's domain is inherited from the price demand function. Question 4. Find the marginal revenue function and the marginal revenue at a production level of 110 toasters. So the marginal revenue is the derivative of the revenue function. So this would be 120 minus x. Marginal revenue of 110 toasters is 120 minus 110, which is $10 per toaster. And then the statement. At a production level of 110 toasters, revenue is increasing at a rate of $10 per toaster. So a couple of things. In order to correctly interpret these results, you need to state what the production level is, so 110 toasters, and its revenue is increasing, not marginal revenue is increasing. Marginal revenue is how the revenue is changing, and so the revenue is what's increasing at a rate of $10 per toaster, not marginal revenue. Question 5. Use algebra to find the break-even points. So the break-even points occur when the revenue function is equal to the cost function. So that would be 120x minus 0.5x squared is equal to the cost function from the previous page, 6,000 plus 5x. This is a quadratic function, so we're going to move everything to the left. We're going to have negative 0.5x squared plus 115x minus 6,000 is equal to 0. To make it easier to solve this function, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2. I choose negative 2 because that's the number I can multiply by to get rid of this leading coefficient of negative 0.5. Multiplying by negative 2 gives me x squared minus 230x plus 12,000. And now you're looking for two numbers that multiply to give you 12,000 and add to give you 230. And that would be 80 and 150. So the break-even points occur when x is equal to 80 and when x is equal to 150. Question 6. Find the profit function, big P of x. Well, recall that big P of x, profit, is equal to revenue minus cost. So this would be the revenue function, 120x, minus 0.5x squared, minus 6,000 plus 5x. Distribute the negative on the right side here. And then rewrite in descending power order. So negative 0.5x squared plus 115x minus 6,000. And then lastly, find the marginal profit function and the marginal profit at a production level of 110 toasters and interpret. Again, marginal means to take the derivative, so marginal profit would be negative x plus 115. Evaluating at a production level of 110 toasters gives us $5 per toaster. And the interpretation. At a production level of 110 toasters. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Profit is increasing at a rate of $5 per toaster. All right, thanks for watching.